Now we're out on the yard, and it's a huge yard. It's the size of a football field, bigger actually, and it's got a track around it and a bunch of different weight piles. In the feds, the federal prisons, there's no more weights. They took those away years ago. The state facilities still have weights in them. And the weight piles are populated according to gangs. They call them cars in there. So what car are you rolling with? You would always hear people say. And I'm walking around and I'm a little nervous, but I've got some separation between me and everybody else, and I can see what's coming at me and I can see who's coming up behind me. The gangs in prison in the United States are segregated according to ethnicity and skin color. And a lot of it depends on what state you're in. Obviously in California, you have a very strict prison politic, gang banging culture. The white gangs are the Aryan Brotherhood is the big one. With the blacks, it's the Black Guerrilla family, the Bloods, the Crips, and then so many different Hispanic gangs. Kind of the same thing holds true in Oregon. And at Two Rivers, the main sets, we called them sets, were the Aryan Brotherhood, the Hells Angels, those are the big white gangs. With the black guys, it was the Rolling 60s, Crips, and Piru Blood gangs. And it's funny because those are gangs from South Central LA. But over the years, they have migrated north to Portland and Seattle, places in the Northwest, to sell drugs. Then they get locked up. And now we have a whole new transplant prison culture in Oregon. So it was the Bloods and the Crips. And then the Hispanic gangs were the Norteños and Sureños and the Paisas. And in Oregon, a lot of times they rolled together. It wasn't as strict and kind of segregated as prisons in California. But I'd also heard that a week before I hit that yard, a Norteño had a beef with this Paisa guy, and he came up behind him with one of those little shanks with the razor blades fastened onto it, and he kind of hit his brachial artery right there, and dude had bled out. So there was always beef going on amongst the gangs. And I'm walking around the track, and I pass a group of these white guys, these big burly white guys on a weight pile. And as I'm walking by him, I hear them start to kind of gossip, right? And then one of them goes, "Nah, that's Mitchell. He's good. He's got good paperwork." Paperwork. You always hear about paperwork. In prison, there's two types of paperwork. There's good paperwork and there's bad paperwork. Bad paperwork means you're a snitch or you're a sex offender. Good paperwork is everything else. So I met dudes that killed 10 people, but they had good paperwork. But, you know, a guy who's 21 and he sleeps with his 17-year-old girlfriend and he gets locked up, that's bad paperwork. I don't make the rules. These are just kind of the archaic laws that run American penitentiaries and probably prisons all over the world. And as I'm walking around the track, I'm just observing and I'm keeping my eye out for anybody who might look like a problem. I'm also just kind of taking in my new home. I mean, this is where I'm going to be. And I was a mess physically. I started sweating immediately. I hadn't had any real exercise since I fell back in September of 2010. So you have 8 months of just starving in the county jail where they just feed you enough to keep you alive. I mean, my ribs are showing. I'm completely pasty white. I'm down bad at this point, you know? And then I pass a group of white guys on a weight pile. And as I'm walking by them, one of them comes up to me and he's this big, bald head, white rhino dude. He's got a swastika on his neck. And I'm like, oh, this ought to be fun. And he goes, "Mitchell, you got good paperwork." He knew who I was already. Think about that. This motherfucker knew my name and he knew my crime. He goes, "You're a good white dude. We need more good white dudes on this yard." And I go, okay. Yeah, I'll take that into consideration, man. And I just kept walking. And later I found out who he was. He was a shot caller for the Aryan Brotherhood. And shot callers, or we call them key holders. He had keys to the yard. And those dudes are connected with all the guards. They know who's coming in and out off the chain. And they knew who I was before I even got off the Grey Goose that day. So that was mind-blowing to me. Now I keep on walking and I pass by the basketball court and surprise, surprise, it's the black dudes dominating. I'm 6'6". I've been hooping all my life, but I was in no mood on this particular day. I just wanted to be left alone. But one of the guys who's playing sprains his ankle and he's limping off the court. And I see them just start to swivel their heads, looking around for an extra player. And they spot me and I know what's coming. I've been getting it my whole life. He goes, "We need a fifth." And he goes like this. And I was like, this is not a request. So I was like, all right, here we go. And I'm in Converse shoes like it's the 1950s, right? And game was to 21. I went out and I went like 7 for 8 from behind the 3-point line, and we just fucking crushed them. We won the game. And after the game, the same guy who recruited me, this guy Pele, this really good dude, this big black dude, he goes, "Hey, you play like Dirk, homie." As in Dirk Nowitzki of the Dallas Mavericks. And this is 2011. It's the same year that they won the championship. So from that moment on, my name in the Oregon Department of Corrections was Dirk. That's what the inmates called me. That's what the guards called me. That's what my counselor called me. That's what the warden called me. It wasn't Johnny Mitchell. It was Dirk. That's how I got my prison handle. Hey guys, if you like that clip, make sure to check out the full episode here and subscribe to the channel over here.